After dark, rules aren't superstition, they're seatbelts. People laugh at seatbelts until the glass breaks. These are 3 nights where a rule snapped, and something tall stepped through the quiet. Story 1. Never be the last to leave the room. I didn't volunteer for cleanup. I drew the short straw because the stage manager said I labeled the props table wrong. So that night I stayed behind at our tiny community theater, while everyone else jogged out into a misty drizzle that made the parking lot lights look further away than they were. By the time the exit door sighed shut, the building felt like it exhaled and waited to see if I would. If you've worked a theater, you know how it sounds when it's empty. Fabric swallowing echoes, wood that remembers footsteps, the soft tick of hot lights cooling down. It should have been comforting, the sort of sound people put on white noise playlists. I kept the house lights bright and talked to myself while I stacked chairs. It sounds dumb, but it keeps your brain from inventing company. Aisle 3, halfway, stage right, clear. The door marked Exit C has been a problem forever. Old frame, the bolt doesn't catch unless you hip check it. I did the dance, heard the click, and told myself I'd finally done something adult. When I turned back, 3 chairs in row J were no longer tucked beneath the stack. They had slid out and angled perfectly toward the stage. Not sloppy, like they were paying attention. We've got a superstition in this place. Don't leave a room you didn't enter. That means don't turn off lights and let the room become what it is at night. You might not make it back the same way. I meant to obey that, but I kept glancing at Exit C. The frame looked like it was leaning inward by a degree. The clock over the booth clicked to 12:11 with that dry insect noise old clocks make. On stage, a red ribbon from costumes snagged on a nail and dragged itself a few inches and stopped. I told myself it was airflow from the HVAC. Then the HVAC came on, and the ribbon didn't move. I bagged programs. Somewhere above me, a mic line rubbed a metal edge and made a faint glass whistle. The soundboard was off. The amp was unplugged. I reached over and touched the faders anyway, like a person putting a hand on a heartbeat they swear they didn't hear. The board was cold. The whistle continued. You know how you feel watched sometimes, and then you turn and there's nothing there, but the air still has that weight, like a person just stepped out of a doorway and left the warmth? That. I scanned the rows. They were ordinary. It was the aisles that felt wrong. The negative space. Like something tall had found its shape between the chairs and was seeing how it fit. I said, "It's just me," out loud, and hated how small it sounded. I tried for joking and got it half right. "I'm not last, you are." Childish. It helped anyway. Exit C clicked, slow and deliberate, as if it had been a sentence and I'd just supplied the period. The main curtain pinched inward like someone behind it tugged a belt tight and then let go. At the back, the projector's little red standby light blinked. We kill the breaker after rehearsals. There shouldn't have been any red. Still, right there on the screen, a colder rectangle bled through the ambient light. Not a picture, not even light. A frame, a door where there wasn't one. Inside it, the exact height and patience of a person who never slouches. I started for Exit A. The aisle got longer the way they do in bad dreams. It didn't stretch. I did, inside my head. The distance kept agreeing to stay the same no matter how many steps I took. The panic bar was the only normal thing when I finally touched it, and even that felt warm, like someone had been leaning there a long time, listening. I opened Exit A and didn't step through right away. I called down the hallway. "Hey, I'm still in here." My voice came back in a shape that sounded like a joke someone had told earlier that day. Familiar, out of order. I propped the door on my foot. Being last is a technicality. An open door makes a room plural. On the screen, the frame inside the frame trembled like a reflection when someone else steps beside you at a sink. The patient height inside it didn't step forward. It just decided to be somewhere else. The aisle went back to the right size. The whistle in the ceiling died like the room forgot what it had been practicing. I left the lights on and crossed to the lobby where the night manager sat scrolling on his phone like the truth comes through a 5-inch screen. "Done?" he asked without looking up. "Do me a favor," I said. "Come lock with me." He blinked, pocketed his phone, and came. We walked back in together. That helped. The theater felt like a stage again instead of the inside of a mouth. We turned keys and checked bolts. When we hit exit C, the frame didn't fight us. It closed like it remembered how. The night manager tapped the projector cart. "We still using this old guy?" he asked, joking. "It shouldn't be on," I said. "It isn't," he said, and flicked a dead switch to prove it. In the lobby glass, our reflection made space for a third shape behind us, a vertical nothing. We didn't see it. The glass did. The shape did what it had been doing all night. It waited to see if a rule would be broken hard enough to let it cross. We walked out together and locked up as if a lock matters to anything that can use absence as a hinge. I sat in my car and pretended to check texts until I could breathe again. I kept the theater in my rear view until the building turned into a darker patch of sky. When I finally pulled away, my headlights caught a slice of glass in the vestibule door before it closed. The reflection inside that slice left room for something tall. It stayed on the other side. It didn't need to follow. It had learned my shape. That was enough. I slept with the living room lamp on for 2 nights. The third night I dreamt the aisle again, the wrong length, and woke up at 12:11 with the taste of dust in my mouth. I texted the stage manager the next morning and told her we needed to fix exit C. She wrote back, "Already done, came in and it was closed right." I didn't answer. The rule felt like a seatbelt I had found under the seat and buckled just in time. I don't think it makes me safe. I think it taught me the car I'm in is bigger than the road I can see. Stories like this have been submitted by viewers who claim the hollow man followed them. If anything strange has happened to you, leave it in the comments. Story 2. Don't look into the mirror after midnight. We weren't supposed to be there. The farmhouse belonged to a cousin of a guy we barely knew, a setup that already tells you the idea was bad. Riley, who runs our tiny ghost hunting channel, insisted Bell Witch Country would help our views. I didn't disagree. I just didn't say the part where legends don't end because we stop believing in them. They end because something else starts using the empty path we made with our mouths. Midnight in that bathroom felt like a dare somebody left in 1979. Yellowed paint, medicine cabinet with a little rust tumor on the hinge, a single bulb that hummed like a tired cricket. The mirror had those black freckles around the edges where the silver peels back. People call it foxing. It looks like fingerprints trying to grow hands. I've seen enough urban legend videos to know better than to say anyone's name. Riley grinned and said we weren't doing that name. We'd use a different one. Less copyrighted, he joked. That's how you end up testing the wrong fence. You go around the obvious sign and step into the part of the pasture no one mows. I looked into that glass and said, "The hollow man is a wuss." I said it clearly so the audio would catch it. Maya said it after me, just to show me she wasn't rattled. The third time we said it together. The third time didn't belong to us. It came back fogged onto the inside of the glass, as if the mirror had breath and decided to use it. The words blurred and then thinned but didn't disappear. A third shoulder lined up with ours in the reflection, just the slope of it, close enough that my body tensed like a dog who hears a key in a lock. I've watched the footage frame by frame. The bulb dips for a second. Our bodies lean forward without meaning to, like we're standing on a boat and the dock just shifted. The camera's little red tally light winks off, but the recording continues as if the glass didn't want to be witnessed by something with its own eye. I reached out, because sometimes your hands don't believe what your head knows, and touched the mirror. It wasn't hard. It had give, like pressing on a pond's skin with the flat of your finger. Something pressed back with the exact pressure, aligning fingertip to fingertip. When I pulled away, my print stayed under the glass like a leaf sealed in wax. Maya said my name in that slow way people use when they can't see your face fully. I stepped back fast enough to bump her shoulder. The shape in the mirror didn't move. The frame around it got tighter, which made the same height feel taller. She threw a towel over the mirror. It slid off like the glass was oiled. Riley finally sounded serious. "We're done," he said. "Rule says no mirror after midnight." He turned us away, physically turned us, like he was correcting a kid. We walked backward into the hall with the bathroom door open and the light on, which is as close to an apology as you can offer a rule you've already broken. From behind us came 3 soft taps, not knocks, taps like a fingertip asking a question it already knows the answer to. They didn't echo. That's the part that stays with me. In a little farmhouse bathroom, anything on glass should echo. These landed flat in the audio like words written straight onto the tape. We went down the stairs. The porch swing made a friendly creak in the daytime. At night, it sounded like a door hinge used too many times in a hallway no one admits is there. Riley's keys slipped. Maya swore the way you do when you're trying not to say a name the dark might recognize. We made it to the car like anyone run from a house in any story you've seen, except I can tell you exactly what I felt when the dome light came on, watched from the direction you only ever check when you need to merge. The rearview mirror is a problem no one talks about. It's a small, obedient rectangle you stare into on purpose. It doesn't ask permission. It makes corridors out of your attention. Mine showed the porch, the front door, and in the far corner of the frame, the bathroom window 2 floors up where our mirror faced outward. The window was dark. Then it wasn't. It became a colder rectangle inside the dark. In that rectangle stood the exact height of a standard door. No face, no features. Just absence given a shoulder and a decision. "Don't look," Maya said. I stared at the floor mat like it was a prayer rug. The engine turned on the second try. Gravel spat. Trees slid between us and that window like a curtain that finally remembered its job. We didn't post that video. We posted everything around it. Some door creaks, a long EVP that said nothing, but sounded like a voice trapped in a jar. A week later, a new account with no subs posted a clip titled "Nothing But a Timestamp." It was the same bathroom. 12:03 a.m. Our towel on the floor unfurls by itself like a roll of film and slides toward the sink. You can say string. You can say draft. The door is closed. The AC was off. The comments were disabled. Whoever posted it didn't want discussion. They wanted a record. I started noticing mirrors after that. Ordinary mirrors, storefronts, train windows at night, catching my eye and holding it half a second too long. I stopped looking when I brushed my teeth. I used my phone camera as a mirror for 2 weeks and then threw up on a random Tuesday when the phone showed my kitchen behind me and a shadow that wasn't a shadow lined up with my shoulder. We returned the farmhouse keys. Riley said it was good content and that we should be strategic about what we shared, like the internet is a gate we control. I didn't argue. Rules don't care what you call them. They're just waiting for you to touch the edge of the frame and learn what edges do. If you're still watching, you're not alone. Most people turn this off by now, but you want to see what happens next. Maybe you should stick around, or subscribe before it gets worse. Story 3. If you hear tapping, do not answer the door. My apartment 4B is the kind you take because it's available today and the landlord says someone else is coming at 5. Sloped floors, thin walls, radiator that thinks it's part of a jazz trio. The first week I heard it, a light tapping at 1:17 a.m., 3 taps, pause, 2 taps, pause, 3 again. Not knocking, just measuring. You'll think I'm being dramatic, but it felt polite, like a person saying, "Excuse me," in a supermarket aisle and waiting to see if you'll move. I checked the peephole. The hallway looked wrong the way it always does when it's empty. Too long. The exit sign bled. Somebody's shoe squeaked on a floor above me and stopped abruptly, like the rest of the step got deleted. I stood there until my eye ached from the peephole lens. The tapping didn't return. At 3:03 a.m., tapping came from the kitchen window that faces the alley. 5th floor. No fire escape on that side. Just dumpsters and a slice of sky that feels bigger in winter. I pulled the blind up an inch and looked through that one safe finger width. The alley was empty. The glass wasn't. The reflection bulged where a face should be without making one. I let the blind fall. The tapping returned to the door. At 3:07, I put my palm flat against the inside of the door like they teach you in fire drills. It was warm, like somebody had been leaning on the other side for a while. The tapping stopped under my hand like a conversation that pauses to hear your breath. My peephole showed an empty corridor that looked a foot longer than it had 5 minutes earlier. I went to bed and didn't sleep. Whenever I dipped toward it, I heard the imprint of those taps inside my chest, like a metronome tucked behind my ribs. The next night I recorded with my phone. The ear doesn't always catch what the mic does. At 1:17 a.m., 3 taps. Pause. 2. Pause. Then something faint under them. Syllables you couldn't make out until you slowed the clip and put it through a filter that might as well be called bad idea. A phrase, said over and over until it stopped meaning anything and started opening a space for itself. I stopped the clip and deleted it. I can pretend I did that because I'm rational. I did it because part of me wanted to hear the phrase correctly, and I knew that was the worst possible desire to have. On Thursday, I wrote "Do not answer" in Sharpie on an index card and taped it over the peephole like I was protecting myself by blinding myself. I waited on the stairs under the motion detector light at 12:04 a.m. It clicked off. The stairwell became a pencil sketch. Tapping began above me and below me at the same time, calmly, the way you drum your fingers when you're thinking. The light clicked on. The taps stopped. I went back to 4B and found the index card gone. The tape still clung to the door in 2 neat strips. I texted the guy in 4D. He wears steel-toed boots and leaves at weird hours. I asked, "You ever hear tapping?" He wrote back almost immediately, "Don't answer it." No emoji, no LOL. 30 seconds later, another text. "Lost a super that way." I waited. Then, "He opened to tell a kid to cut it out." Another pause. "Wasn't a kid. Door opened from the inside." I called him. He didn't pick up. Friday night, I slept on the couch with a beanie pulled down because it felt like armor. At 1:11 a.m., taps at the closet door 2 feet behind my head. Polite, patient, matching my pulse and teaching it to slow down until mine behaved. I didn't turn around. You will think that's cowardly. It's not. It's the only smart act I performed that night. Something scratches at the part of your brain that evolved to map rooms by sound alone, and you realize, not romantically, that your outlines belong to whatever is best at holding them. 4D texted, "Stay away from any door, any frame." Then, "It's not knocking, it's measuring." I stared at those words until they looked like shapes. Measuring what? Height? Angle? The time between my breaths? I stood up and the taps paused the way a person pauses when a deer lifts its head. I sat back down, and they resumed. I felt stupid, like I'd become an instrument for somebody else to tune. Saturday, the tapping waited at the places I always step. A soft 3 at the bathroom threshold, a double at the fridge, 3 at my bedroom doorway. Breadcrumbs. If breadcrumbs could tap a table and make you come to heel. I stood in the center of the living room on a chalk circle from some old inspection, a little scuff of white nobody ever cleaned. I said, "I'm not answering." The room didn't like it. The air pressure changed the way it does in elevators. My ears clicked. The doorframe across the room looked thicker with nothing in it. At 1:17 a.m., my phone pinged with a doorbell camera alert. I don't have a doorbell camera. The notification said "Motion detected at front door" and showed a black thumbnail. I clicked it. The clip was from the hallway looking toward my door, like it had been borrowed from someone else's point of view. The fluorescence flickered. Down the hall, something tall and perfectly still let the corridor move it forward while it stayed in place. The video cut before it reached my doormat. I saved it and then deleted it and then emptied the trash like a person scrubbing their hands after a thought. The next part is the part I was least ready for. The tapping moved from surfaces to the frame. The door didn't shake. The walls didn't carry vibration. The rectangle of air inside the doorframe thickened a degree, like the night poured higher inside it. The deadbolt gave a tiny twitch. Not a turn, a suggestion. I saw the keyhole like a mouth choosing whether to speak. A text from 4D lit my screen. "You don't open doors, you make other ones." In the morning, I understood. I dragged the bookcase into the kitchen at a weird angle so the path to the sink wasn't a straight shot. I taped cardboard across the bottom of the bathroom door so the gap became a slope, not a neat line. I hung a blanket in the bedroom doorway, so stepping through meant passing through soft and noisy, not a clean rectangle. I put my table diagonally in the living room. It made the apartment look ridiculous. It made me feel less like a shape on a blueprint. The tapping keeps testing. It finds new places, top of the oven, edge of the window, adapts its rhythm to my roots, waits for me to fall back into old habits, and give it a clean angle to measure. I keep moving the furniture a half inch every day like I'm slowly solving a puzzle I can't see. When friends ask why they can't come over, I say I'm painting. It's technically true. I've been painting the outlines of my life so the night can't color them in. If you hear tapping tonight, don't be clever about it. Don't try the peephole. Don't crack the door a hair to prove it's nothing. Don't stand there and bargain with a rule that doesn't know your name. Sit somewhere that isn't framed. Make the room plural. Blur the edges. Let the hinge in the dark decide you aren't the shape it wanted after all. New horror drops every Hollow Wednesday. Subscribe before you find someone else.